Tracy and Tego.
Hello, everyone. This is Ana Pacheco with Santa Fe 101. My guests today are a wonderful couple, Tracy and Tego Venturi of the Venturi Realty Group. Do I have your permission, folks, to record this interview?
You do.
Sure.
Oh, good. And Tego, I want to thank you awfully. I know you've got a radio show. You're the head of this huge realty company in Albuquerque, and you did me a big favor by allowing, agreeing to speak to me about Valencia County, because, Albuquerque's not going to be hard to get in terms of, somebody to talk about real estate in Albuquerque, but some of the smaller counties, I've run into a few,
Sure.
difficulties. So take it away. Tell me about Valencia County, and we'll go from there.
Well, Tracy, I'll start. Valencia County, I'm the stats guy, right? So I can talk to that a little bit, and you can talk more about some of the communities. Valencia County is just south of Albuquerque, if you're not familiar with it. Valencia County is one of the three counties in the metropolitan statistical area for the Albuquerque area. So we have Bernalillo, Sandoval, and then Valencia County. And so Tracy, Valencia County is south of the city, just down the freeway, right? And what do we find down there?
It is. And, most people, when they think of Valencia County, they come to Los Lunas. And they think Los Lunas, and that's sort of it. But, it starts just south of Isleta Pueblo,
Yep.
right? And it goes through to Belen, which is, ways down the highway. Rio Communities, we have Bosque Farms, which is right next to the Pueblo, the first community you come to as you go south.
Mm-hmm.
And several other, Los Chavez, Las Maravillas, lots of different little communities.
Yeah,
but
there's a lot of history
out
there. Yeah, there's a lot of history in that part of the valley, right?
There is. The Rio Grande River runs through, of course, through Valencia County. So you have a lot of the farming community there, some bigger lots, some bigger parcels where people are still doing a lot of farming. And then there's the cities, and there's new construction, and there's, older community neighborhoods within, but a lot of new neighborhoods going up as well. A lot of businesses too.
Yeah. It's a real mix in what I think one of the unique things about the Valencia County areas, and again, we're talking Los Lunas, Belen, Bosque Farms, Peralta, Meadow Lake, and so on. They're generally, you're going to find larger parcels of land. So if you're looking for that rural feel, you're looking for something, kind of give you a little room, right? You're going to get that in Valencia County. Now, that's not true in some of the neighborhoods where there's new construction, obviously. But for the most part, if you like that rural feel. The other thing I want to talk about is pricing. When you're looking at the metro Albuquerque area and you're comparing what homes cost by area, Valencia County, the reality is it's more affordable than what we see in Bernalillo County and Sandoval County. And just to give you the numbers here, in Valencia County, average price was $223,000 in the last 6 months that I just looked at, compared to $292,000 for Bernalillo and $293,000 for Sandoval, which are almost the same. So, substantially less on the average sale price for homes. And we see that true with the new construction there as well, correct?
We do, for sure. There also is, some active adult 55 plus communities in Valencia County.
I was hoping you would talk about that.
Jubilee is one of them. Very close.
I have a friend who lives at Jubilee. She loves it. Yeah.
It's a beautiful community, and their community center and their pool and outdoor living spaces that they have for grilling and having barbecues. It's a great location right off of the freeway. So it's quick to Albuquerque, especially the airport. 55 plus, they're active, probably travel a lot, not during COVID, but, like to get quickly to the city.
One of the interesting stories, Anna, is we get a lot of people coming in that we end up working with that are relocating to Sandia, either the labs or going to the Air Force Base, which of course is, by the airport here in Albuquerque, south of the city for the most part. And they start looking at different communities. So they're looking in Albuquerque, greater Albuquerque. They start looking in Rio Rancho, kind of the northwest part of the whole metro area. And then they start looking at Valencia County and realize that the commute from, like the labs, like the Sandia area to Valencia County is in many times shorter than like going to Rio Rancho, for example. So it really offers a good variety of options for people when you're looking at the whole metro area.
And then, so it's really, but the community of Las Lunas is, I mean, I mentioned it's like a bedroom community of Albuquerque. That would be the one that's the easiest to commute to. I think Belen it's a little bit further, isn't Belen like
It's a,
almost an hour out of Albuquerque?
it
Well, it
is
is. Yeah.
45 minutes to an hour.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
So
Las Lunas would be, if people are watching this interview now and they're thinking, well, I don't want to be too far away from, I kind of want that rural feel, but I don't want to be too far out of Albuquerque. Las Lunas would probably be the area for them to look at.
absolutely. Yep.
Yep.
So Bosque Farms, which is even a hair closer, and then Las Lunas. So for sure,
Well,
it's a
tell me about,
bedroom
I mean,
community.
Bosque Farms, I know about Las Lunas. Again, I have a friend who lives at Jubilee now and things, but I don't know a thing about Bosque Farms. Can you tell me what is that, like a community or?
It's
I think
a
it's
village.
designated, it's a village. Yes. So it is I guess, incorporated village, right?
If you go down not take the freeway and you go down south from Isleta Pueblo, the first place you come to is Bosque Farms. And most of even like in the village, most of the lots and the homes there are a half acre or larger. It's very much, they've got the Tractor Supply there and, little restaurants and shops and things. It's a nice, quaint village that you come to before you get to Las Lunas. So it's not huge. Obviously, it's not the size of Las Lunas. So Las Lunas will afford a lot more options when it comes to homes, because in Bosque Farms, maybe we'll only have 3 homes on the market at any given time.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing, just to give you an idea about, residential housing and how Valencia County stacks up against Bernalillo and Sandoval. If we look at all the homes sold, and again, the whole metropolitan statistical area, only about 8% of them are in the Valencia County areas. Clearly, Bernalillo County is like 70% of those sales. Sandoval County is somewhere, 20% or so. So it is a smaller portion of the total housing. However, I do suspect that may increase here over time, just because of some of the landlocked issues we have in greater Albuquerque area, and some of the development and affordability is going to be better going down south.
And in Las Lunas, is that where you're saying there's like are there new housing developments? Are there new neighborhoods being built?
There really are. There's Inspiration neighborhood right now, which is great, because a lot of people that commute to Albuquerque don't want to be too far off the interstate. And this neighborhood has 3 or 4 different new home builders right now building, and it's just off the interstate right by the high school. So it's maybe 10 minutes or less to get on the freeway and you can get a new home there. They're starting in the prices of low 200s.
Yeah. Which you can't find new in Albuquerque or even Rio Rancho in that price now.
And when you, for like the low 200s, are you talking like a 1,700 square foot house, or how large a house would it be?
Do you remember what that it was?
I can tell you.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
Savage Homes is building there, and they're actually trying to keep it most affordable. So they're the ones that were right around 200,000, and it's typically a 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom, small, but like 12 to 1,400 square feet. They were trying to stay in that more affordable range and then going up from there. DR Horton is building there. They're going to be more in the 260 to 280 starting range. So kind of a big spread there.
So, what you're saying is in Valencia County, there's room to grow, whereas in Albuquerque proper, there's really not too many places to build on anymore?
Well, there is, and that's a complex conversation that obviously we don't want to get into, but there are some challenges. And I mean, there's some construction and some building going on in the Albuquerque area, but what we're finding in Metro Albuquerque is just the cost to actually bring a house out of the ground is just more. Just to have a ready to go lot is just more money for these builders, and it's just more affordable in the Valencia County areas.
But we are landlocked, right? We have the mountain on one side, Indian reservations north and south, so we can go west. And Rio Rancho still has land, but just the cost to get it ready to build on is just very high. Whereas Las Lunas right now is affording some lots that are ready to go and a little more affordably.
And in terms of the community of Los Lunas, I mean, I know you can, jump on the interstate and get to Albuquerque in 20 minutes or so, be it one of the, a Walmart or a Sam's Club or something. Are there major stores in Los Lunas, or what, if people are listening to this and they're thinking, well, it's starting to sound pretty good, but what would I do for shopping if I don't want to have to deal with Albuquerque? Do you know
Sure.
what's in Los Lunas?
Well, I think the interesting thing, and we can talk about this, you can talk about it, Tracy, but there's not the major big box,
No Sam's, no Costco.
yeah, it's not that. It's going to be more of the mom and pop stores. It's going to be more kind of that rural feel that you get in more rural communities, right? Smaller stores. I mean, there's groceries, there's markets, there's all the stuff you need.
They have a super Walmart right off the
Yeah.
interstate in Los Lunas. So they, there's, like I said, Tractor Supply, which happens to be my favorite store, but they have a super Walmart. They have Smith's, they have Albertsons, they have a Big Five, they have Napa Auto Parts. But then they have lots of local smaller places as well, along with any kind of fast food you could need, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of really quaint family run restaurants that I love. When I'm in the area, I love to stop and get something, burritos al estance or
Luna Mansion.
the Luna Mansion.
Luna Mansion is you're probably familiar with Luna Mansion and with your history background. Yeah.
Well, what is the population of Los Lunas?
It's right around the most
75?
recent. Yeah, it's about 76 as of 2019.
76,000.
Yeah,
Oh, so
76,000.
it's not that small. I mean, Santa Fe's only,
No.
we're inching up to about 85,000. So Los Lunas isn't that far behind.
Oh, and
Actually,
I'm
that's
sorry.
all of
I'm sorry,
Valencia.
Well,
Yeah,
all
sorry.
of
That's the
Valencia.
entire county. Yes.
Of
yes,
Of course,
Yeah.
the bulk of them are in Los Lunas, though.
So what would Los Lunas be? 25,000, 30 or?
Oh gosh. Yeah, and I don't have that off the top.
Okay,
of my
I
head.
bet it's probably 2/3 of that.
Yeah,
So it's probably
yeah.
like 50 or 45, 50,000.
And
The
do
thing
you
that's
know much?
interesting-
Do you have a lot of activity, or do you see a lot of activity in Belen? Do you know anything about that community? I know it's further down.
Yeah.
Are people moving out that way?
Actually, we just helped a family move from back east, and they chose Belen after looking at the East Mountains, and then went down to Los Lunas and Belen, and they chose it because they could get a lot more house for the money and a great big barn for their toys that they weren't going to use for livestock, but for toys. Much more affordable, typically larger lots. There is a new home builder, Westway building there. Again, smaller homes in Belen that they're building, but again, more affordably, in that 200,000 for the trade-off. But most of the homes in Belen, Belen's really quaint and cozy. It's got a beautiful main street. So you feel like you're in small town America. And the houses around there have a lot more character. I don't know why, but they just do.
Well, it's
So
probably an older. I mean, it hasn't been
Yeah.
as developed as Los Lunas, probably.
exactly.
But for
Yeah.
anybody who's watching this too, because you mentioned the Rio Grande, the Rio Grande runs right through those communities, Los Lunas, Belen, and all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico. So that area is blessed with water. I mean, it's always so green and beautiful. If you're driving down to Las Cruces and you look to the left, it's like, oh my God, that's the river's there because it's so green and beautiful.
Right.
And you don't often see that, especially driving from Santa Fe to Albuquerque.
Yeah.
Well, and one of the really treasures in New Mexico is the Bosque del Apache Wildlife Preserve down by Socorro, which is just again
a little further,
a little bit further south, but it's an amazing place, especially when the birds are in migration. And
It's
it's
generally like in October, November, I think.
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
And then
really
also down there is the Camino Real monument. They have it's a state-run facility. It's about the Mexican trade route that started in Mexico City and ends 30 miles north of Santa Fe. It was called the Camino Real. So there's a big thing on there. So it's a beautiful part of the country. And I'm hoping that if people are watching this, that they might consider these areas because again, for Albuquerque, I mean, forget Santa Fe unless you're really wealthy, but Albuquerque's becoming more expensive and more crowded. And I'm thinking of people that might want to retire. The Jubilee would be a great way to look, a great place to look at. And then you were talking about, like you said, you get more land. Like what would be like the average if you're looking at a rural living space? Would it be like 5 acres, 10 acres, 2 acres? What are some of the things that you're seeing? How is it broken up?
Why don't you speak to that?
So
Yeah.
it's still hard, when we have people relocating here and they say, I want 5 or 10 acres because I'm in Kentucky and I'm moving there and I want 5 or 10 acres. It's still hard to find, unless you're getting a very large spread, maybe 40 acres or 80 acres. We don't have a lot of interim. So most of them go up to 1 or 2 acres in Valencia County and then much bigger. So getting 5 acre parcels unusual. They tend to be in 20 and 40 and 80 kind of split up. You know how the sections are 360 and then they kind of get subdivided down. So most of the just residential homes are on a half acre to an acre. We've
Yeah.
sold a couple in the past year on 2 acres in the Los Lunas area. But
And what would two
typically
acres,
smaller.
what would just the land cost? What would 2 acres of land in the Los Lunas?
That's
Oh, that's a
that's
loaded
a
question. Oh
yeah.
man.
It varies. So land costs vary because of water availability and utilities. So the closer you are to the river, typically more. And if it has irrigation rights, so ditch water is one thing. And then actual pre-1906 water rights that are very valuable and can be bought and sold, that makes it even more valuable. So I don't have the numbers off the top of my head. The last time I looked to get an irrigated acre, probably in the 80 to 100,000 an acre down in the Valencia
So
County
that's pretty
area.
costly. I mean, here in Santa Fe, maybe it's 150,000, and that's pretty high. So
Yeah,
even,
well,
yeah, so it's not inexpensive if you're looking at the buying, starting from scratch then. But, and then with most of these lots, would you have to dig a well?
yes.
In most
Yep.
cases.
It'd be well in septic areas for the most part where these lots would be, if
Now,
you're getting a larger lot.
let me just give a little story here. So there's, I think a lot of us are familiar with Rio Rancho and how Rio Rancho came to be, right? Where it was a community where back in the, really late 50s, early 60s, they developed it off and sold off all these little parcels of land, half acre land. And, in Rio Rancho, there's like 80,000 of them, right?
Mhm.
Well, what also happened is there's a community called Rancho, what is it called? It's called
Rancho
Rancho,
Rio
yeah,
Grande.
Rancho Rio Grande, which is in Valencia County. And to be perfectly frank, it was a land scam deal. I actually own one of those lots that my grandparents bought back in the 60s. And it's a city lot. It's not, I think maybe it's a quarter acre. It's in the middle of be the east kind of mesa from Berlin. And I mean, there's nothing there, and you can't give those lots away. So when we talk about land in New Mexico in particular, anywhere in New Mexico, you have to look for that if you're thinking of buying, because something that sounds like a great deal, there's probably a reason that's only $500 for a city lot. And you can actually buy a residential lot for $500 in Valencia County, but there's nothing there.
And you have no
So
access. I've heard stories where you buy land, but you have no access to it, and your neighbors aren't going to let you build a road to get to it. And so I've heard about those types of
Yep.
things.
yeah, so the point
Caution
is
to your
that
listeners.
yeah, caution, when you're buying land in New Mexico, because there's so much variety, and if it has utilities or not utilities. I mean, we have land that we've sold where the land itself was $10,000, but to actually get services to that land was another $50,000. And so it really just, you have to do your research if you're shopping for vacant land in particular.
And so I guess the best rule of thumb is, before you buy, come out and see it and speak with a seasoned realtor, somebody who's
Oh
going to
yeah.
be honest with you and say, you know what, it's a great deal, but you can't live on it because of X, Y, and Z. So that's probably the best advice, is to, if you're interested, I guess, well, you always hear this, if it's too good, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Yeah.
True.
Yep.
But
Yep.
go ahead.
And I was going to say, we can look, I've sold over 100 pieces of land in the last few years. I'm pretty knowledgeable on it. And really, we can look at the satellite image and say, yes, here's where utilities, here's where current construction, where current residences are. And without even getting in the car, we can usually decide pretty quickly whether there's a reason to go look at a piece of land or not.
There's a
Okay.
whole variety. There's this whole area, West Mesa from Berlin near the airport up on top there. They have 5 acre parcels, and you can buy one of those, I think, for $10,000.
We're west of the freeway now where you can actually build, you're
Yeah.
talking about, but it's not by the river. It's not,
Yeah.
it's just kind of barren looking,
I
and
think-
but it works for a lot of people.
And if you don't mind, I wouldn't mind talking about the topography of the Valencia Valley there.
Oh yeah,
because,
we're getting close to the end, but yeah, but please, let's go a little bit longer.
just so you understand, I mean, Valencia County, all the communities we mainly been talking about, Los Lunas, Bosque Farms, Belen, so on, Tomé, all the way down. Most of those just follow the river, right? Follow the Rio Grande. And they're, a lot of them are in what we call the green belt, which has irrigation ditches throughout. But as you start going further west and further east, you're getting into really just kind of desert landscape, sagebrush, not much growing there. And so there's a huge variety when you're looking at these options, especially for vacant land.
So the rule of thumb there would be to look for, you'd steer people toward the green belt. Makes better sense.
That's the most desirable for sure. We haven't really talked about irrigation, but that's a whole nother thing where we have the Middle Rio Grande Conservancy District that manages irrigation ditches throughout the entire central New Mexico, Middle Rio Grande. And in Los Lunas, there's places where you can have property that abuts one of these irrigation ditches, and you actually have the right to use that water to irrigate your property. Again, just one more dynamic and one more thing to think about. That's true in Los Lunas. It's also true in the North Valley, Albuquerque, Corrales, any of the communities that follow the Rio Grande, you're going to find that is the case.
Well, I'm all for just moving into a subdivision that's got everything already there. I want to thank you both. And I know we didn't have time to talk about your realty group, but I'd love to have you or one of your agents back on, because I know you're not only selling in Valencia County, you probably have a major emphasis in Bernalillo and Sandoval. So I'd love to have you both on again. And anything you want, any parting words of wisdom that you'd like to share?
No, we're just happy to talk real estate, which is what we love to do.
This is what we do. One thing I think we want to talk about at some point is East Mountains, Anna. Even though East Mountains is mostly Bernalillo County, it's also part of
Santa Fe
County and Torrance County. In the East Mountains community, Metro Albuquerque area, it kind of stands alone as its own community. And we may want to hit on that one time. Again, if people are looking for a little bit more of that rural, kind of out of the city feel,
but
the
close.
East Mountain area is another place to consider. And we do see that a lot where people are looking, South Valley, Los Lunas, south of town, but they're also looking the East Mountain area.
And that would be like Highway 14 behind the Sandias.
Right.
That
Yeah,
whole
exactly.
That whole area.
Yep. To Harris, Cedar Crest, Sandia Park, Edgewood, those communities that are just east of the Sandia Mountains from Albuquerque.
Well, good. Well, then I'm going to schedule you. We'll talk. We'll spend another 20 minutes talking about the other side of the Sandias in the near future. How's that?
Great.
Perfect.
Thanks, Anna.
Listen, thanks for your time and all the best to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Anna.